Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the THE Student Festival, all about studying in the UK. I'm Jamie Ramacati, Head of Content for Student Events at THE Student, and I am delighted to be chatting today with England football legend and co-founder of University Academy 92, Gary Neville, and Chief Executive Officer of University Academy 92, Sara Prowse. Gary and Sara, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'd love to begin by just talking a little bit about UA92. Sara, maybe you can start by just giving the students in our audience an overview of what UA92 is, what it's all about, and why it's an exciting opportunity for students.
Sure. Hi, Jamie, and thanks for having us. So UA92 is a deliberately different, modern and relevant university. We have degrees in sport, digital media and business. And basically, Jamie, our studies are a blend of academia, which is degrees awarded by Lancaster University, but also industry-led content and industry engagement, case studies and insight. So really, in terms of what students are looking for here, it's a degree from a top 10 university. It's an opportunity to really develop personal character traits and employability skills. And it's a real opportunity to, we call it a employability toolkit, so that our graduates are work ready when they leave us. And another benefit is, which a lot of our students like, is the fact that we have no end of year exams here. So it's continuous assessment, which a lot of our students like. And also, if the students are looking to come and study in a cool city, Manchester obviously is a very cool city, and we are right in the heart of that city.
Location is such an important part of the UA92 experience, I know. As a follow-up to that, Gary, I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about the genesis of UA92. Why is higher education something that you were really keen to get involved in, and where did the idea for UA92 come from?
The idea of UA92 came from, I suppose, the end of our football careers, where we wanted to invest in projects where there was I suppose, an emphasis on giving people opportunities, using our experiences that we've had in football, where talent is one small aspect of what makes a successful individual. And I think that, whether it be at Manchester United when we played, the character and personality of a football player meant that you were more successful. And I think that when we looked at sort of higher education a few years ago and thought that it needed disrupting. We thought that we could, I suppose, put the emphasis on the individual. I think that there are many universities that do a great job in the sort of conventional sector, but there might be 15, 20,000 students at the university. You're a bit of a number. They don't get that personal attention, that personal coaching that we got when we were coming through at Manchester United. And every single student at UA92 has a personal coach. They have that mentoring that you need. They have that industry-led sort of expertise that's really important, that Sarah's just mentioned. And I think that the main thing for us was that we wanted to make sure that we tapped into sort of what would be the best of academia and the best of the private sector, to bring it together, to combine it into a compelling experience, one that was, our university also is a great place to be. It's not like a conventional university. It doesn't perform like one. It's a real energetic, enthusiastic space. And I think it's really important now that young people, there's this feeling, young people aren't as tough as they were 20 years ago. In my day, it was tougher. I think young people nowadays are tougher. I think they're the toughest generation because they won't be told what to do by their parents, by their teachers, by anybody else. They want good jobs. They want good pay. They want good working conditions. And if they don't get that, then they'll go somewhere else. Whereas I think 25 years ago, you were told to learn a trade and that's where you would be for the rest of your life. So we wanted University Academy 92 to adapt to what is the current demands of this generation. Look after them, believe in them, that entrepreneurial spirit that I think we have as well as individuals who wanted to put into them, but demonstrate belief, but coach them, look after them, make them not just a number. All those things that we do here that I think probably is slightly different than a conventional university.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that you've sort of alluded to as we've been talking about UA92 is that it's really about sort of developing the whole person and not just putting students in classrooms, but actually giving them experiences outside of the classroom that will help them develop as a person, not just as a student. I know that one of the pillars of UA92 is personal character development. Sara, can you tell us a little bit about what this means for students and why it's an important part of their education and their journey through higher education?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Gary might want to expand a little bit on this because it was really inspired by his journey at the FA. And it's around developing personal character traits, so resilience, decision-making, preparedness, analytical skills. And it really, in some ways, is more important than the actual degree certificate because these are life skills that we're focusing on. These are skills that, you know, everyone needs out in the workplace, but also in life. And part of it as well is locked into the program is around industry experience. So actually getting out into industry and working on real life case studies so that when our graduates leave us, they are really work ready and they have an absolute toolkit of both experiences and also practical tools and tips that really help them in the workplace, but also within their life. I don't know if you'd like to expand a bit more on.
It was really about the idea that, you know, the view was that you went to university for the certificate and it was all about the certificate, the exams at the end. And that's not the reality because I mean, I'm an employer now in Manchester of around 500 or 600 people. And when I sit in on interviews, honestly, it's a given that you've already got the certificate to get into the interview. So the differentiator is whether I like them, whether I feel that they're committed, they can communicate, whether they're actually willing to stand up and be bold in interviews and sort of demonstrate their character. And I think that's what we want at UA92. You know, when I first looked at UA92 and thought about the certificate was the given. You're going to get a brilliant degree from Lancaster University, but you need to be financially competent during your life. You know, you're going to have loans, you're going to have debts, you're going to have mortgages. You need to be digitally competent in this sort of age. You know, there's no way that you can not be digitally competent. You need to build your own social media platform and your own audience and be able to communicate with people. You need to be able to analyze yourself, but also analyze others and give difficult messages sometimes and have difficult conversations. So all the things that will go into making you a character, we should be working on every single day from the age of sort of 4 when you go to school, right the way through to 21 when you get your degree. But in that really important period between 18 and 21, where you're going from what would be a child into or sort of what would be a fully employed individual and you're going to be prepared for work, you know, it's tough out there to get good jobs, to get good pay. And the difference when you go into an interview is unlikely to be your certificate. It's likely to be your personality, your character, your commitment, whether the person who's interviewing you likes you and takes to you. And we think those things can be developed. I know that people say, you know, leadership skills, they're inside you. They're not. I went to Manchester United at the age of 16. I wasn't a leader. I wasn't somebody who was resilient and robust. I was a young child going into a club that I built that resilience and that robustness and those leadership skills over many, many months, many, many years of sort of being coached by great coaches, people who believed in me, who gave me the opportunity. And I think that's the same at UA92. You know, I have 2 of the students at UA92 now working with me within my group and closely with me in terms of working on my social media and my sort of what would be content platforms. They're absolutely outstanding. They're outstanding. And I trust them. So I trust them to go and deliver things for me. I trust them to be entrepreneurial, to be the boss, if you like, and things that they're doing. And I think that's what UA92 does. It empowers young people and also invests in their character and their personality and coaches them to become more resilient and robust so that they actually can go and win jobs over people who've got equal quality of university, you know, the equal certificate, if you like. So if you've got a 2-1 or whatever it would be, you know, you're going up against somebody who's got the same skill as you. So what's the difference? It's that personality and character that's going to be the difference, and we invest in that.
Absolutely. I think you're so right. It's so important that students are developing the people skills and sort of those X factor skills that will set them apart in the job market. Gary, I suspect that the answer to this question is really closely tied with some of the things you've just mentioned, but I know that we have a lot of student athletes in our audience, and we know that students learn so many transferable skills through sport. I'd love to just hear from you how you have applied the skills that you learned through sport throughout, your childhood, your teenage years, being with Manchester United, and how you've applied those skills into your life and career in other areas outside of sport.
Sport is something that is incredibly powerful. I would encourage every single individual young person to go into sport for physical well-being, mental health, mental well-being. That's the start of it. But then if you come into sort of the lessons of sport, what did I learn in Manchester United's changing room? That, if you're going to achieve success, if we're going to achieve success at UA92, Sara can do well, but if the other people around her aren't aligned with Sara, if they're not with her, if you've not got that shared goal, you will never succeed. And at Manchester United, we had a shared goal. We knew every single day what we were going to do. And the other thing is about tolerance of accepting other individuals, other religions, other cultures, people that you're working with that have different behavioural patterns to you. And I think when we were in the dressing room at Manchester United, the 22 of us, we were all different. But all shared the same goal of wanting to be successful and be part of a good team. And that's the same, I think, in life. You will leave university and you will form part of a team. And a successful team is where every single day you wake up, you're energized about going into that place of work. You feel really passionate and committed to that place of work and to the people that you're working with, that you look after one another and don't try and undermine each other. You talk about cliques in the dressing room. We've seen that sometimes in offices. It can happen in media outlets. It can happen in any, if the cliques exist within an organization or within a team, you've no chance. You need all of you to be really pushing in the same direction, looking after one another, accepting that you might not get on with everyone perfectly well. There might be people you like more than others, but as long as that respect, and I think that's what sport gives you, on that pitch on a Saturday, whether it be a netball court or whether it be a football pitch, you cannot win a game on your own. You're going to need your teammates around you. And I think that's what sport tells you, is that you can't deliver it on your own. And that's the same in business. It's the same in university. Very, very, very difficult to do things on your own in life without having other people around you that you can trust and respect and rely upon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that learning teamwork and learning to work with others and tolerate others is a skill that is certainly applicable on and off the pitch for students throughout their lives. Lastly, Gary,
I think also as well, sorry, Jamie, I think also as well that one team approach, it sums up the culture here at UA92. So this is, it is everyone is one team. There's a very strong community spirit here. And it is very much a UA92 family.
Can I just ask on that note, what is the size of UA92? How many students do you have? What can students expect in terms of class size? Because Gary, I know you mentioned earlier, that you really want students to feel like they're not just a number on a campus. And of course, that sort of small family team atmosphere makes a big difference. But what are we talking about in terms of numbers and the size of your UA92 community?
So this September, Jamie, will be up to 400, and that's 3 full years. We have aspirations to grow, but not grow so big that we lose that family and that community spirit. And just in terms of the class sizes, it's around an average of about 15, 20 maximum. So it's intimate, it's small, it's very personalized. And it really suits a lot of students, that much smaller, intimate feeling.
Yeah, and I think from my point of view, this idea that you're lectured to, that is not the way in which we consume information nowadays. It's not the way in which we respond. The idea that you've got 300 people in a lecture theatre and you've got, a professor at the front speaking at you and talking at you. I mean, that is my worst nightmare. If you think about how young people consume information nowadays in terms of digitally, or whether it be in a sort of more intimate environment, the idea of having class sizes above 20, 25 is something that ultimately is impossible. And that comes from not just actually an academic point of view, it comes from a football point of view. If you think about a young football team, say 16 to 18-year-olds, you need 2 coaches per 20, or certainly 1 per 20 is an absolute sort of minimum. You need that sort of contact time with people who are mentoring you. Young people need to be able to ask questions. Students need to be able to ask questions and get answers. And that sometimes doesn't happen in conventional university, where you've got these huge numbers, you've got these big classes, and essentially you're going there as almost like it's methodical. You've got to do this work to get your degree. Life's got to be we've got to be better than that. We've got to teach better than that. We've got to make sure that we prepare people for working life. And that's where I think even our timetable, the idea of having 1 hour one day, 2 hours the next, 2 hours the next day, and then you have a day off. I mean, that is an erratic timetable that conventional university has. That doesn't represent real life. That doesn't represent what you're going to face in your working life. So we have a structured timetable here. You're either a morning student or an afternoon student for the 3 years or 2 years if you want to do an accelerated degree. And I'll touch on accelerated degrees in a minute because it's really important to us. But you're a morning student. That means you can plan that you're doing your studies every single morning. And in the afternoon, you can then go and develop your skills. You can go and earn extra money. You might have childcare. You may have a sporting or a musical sort of passion that you want to follow up, but you've got that structure in your life that you've got for 3 years or 2 years, which is the academic. We want to really push for 2 years. And that comes from a point of view, why wait 3 years to do something if you can do it in 2? And we think that now we've got, I think, quite a few of our students this year coming into our accelerated degrees, which is a 2-year course. It means you work a lot harder in that 2 years, but we actually think that you should work hard. We shouldn't be afraid to say that you should work hard. That's not stressing people, that's stretching people. Because when you go into a job, you're going to be working long hours. So the idea that you can't for 2 years, condense that degree, get that degree a year, I suppose in some ways a year earlier, you've got a year less of cost, you've got an extra year of earning money in a job, you've got it done quicker. And I think it sets the tone for what we believe is, good personalities, good characters. They're committed every single day to working hard. And the number of our students now taking up that opportunity, aren't they, in terms of the 2-year degrees?
Yeah, it's about 15% of our September intake are on it. And I think it's really resonating as well with slightly older students. So I think it's going to be an ever increasing number.
Yeah, what an amazing opportunity for students to be able to really focus on their studies, commit the time, and just get it done, as you said, and be able to sort of move on to the next phase of their life and career. I know we've just got a few minutes left, but Gary, I want to just talk a little bit about your pivot from professional sport to coach, commentator, businessman. I think a lot of students think about they maybe have an interest or a passion in sport, but they may not make a career out of sport. And I think it's really inspirational for them to see someone who was able to take your interest and the things that you've learned from sport and apply it to other things. What advice would you give to students who have a passion and an interest in sport, but perhaps won't be pursuing it as a career and still want it to be a part of their life?
Continue to do it. I mean, my mum, I suppose I look at my mum, and she was playing netball last night at the age of 71 and won player of the match.
Wow.
And she's enjoyed netball, hockey rounders, and continues to do so all the way through her life. And it's her passion, it's her release. It's the thing that ultimately I think gives her the most pleasure in her life. And if you love sport and you want to continue to play it, whether that be five-a-side, whether it be netball, my 2 girls now play netball, 12 and 11. They're at netball camps during the summer. If you can be passionate about sport, then you shouldn't give in. And actually, there is only a very small percentage make it to sort of what would be the elite level and the professional level. So I wouldn't be worried about that. So in terms of our students, a lot of them are passionate about sport and they continue to play sport, obviously outside of their studies and outside of their other things that they do. But, one of the things that really impressed me here was during lockdown, I think 3 or 4 of our students set up their own businesses. And that gives me great pleasure that they set up their own businesses and they went for it. They were entrepreneurial. They decided to take that jump. We all in our lives have that moment where we think, shall we jump into the deep, jumping into the deep end, I suppose, whether that be changing the job or a relationship or whatever it might be in our lives that we have those big moments and you have to be brave. And I want UA92 students to be brave. I want them to do what they want to do. I want them to make sure that they feel as though we believe in them and that you can fail. You can set up a business and it might not work. That's happened to me since I finished playing football. I've had a couple of projects that didn't work as well. There was a couple of restaurants I opened in Manchester that we had to close down. they were great learning experiences for me. I went to Valencia as a coach, and it was tough and it didn't work out for me. But those moments actually taught me more about myself than the moments that have brought me success, because you find out really how you respond to difficulties, to challenges. Yeah. And that's what I want in the students here. We're going to have these ups and downs in our lives, but that resilience and robustness is the ability to do well and not do well, but continue to come back the day after and try again. And I think sport's a really good thing to actually teach you that, because if you win a game or lose a game, you still got to play the week after. You know, there's no sort of, there is no mountain that you climb that you sort of, you know, the next game comes, unfortunately. And even though you might win a trophy or you might win a match, you still might get beat the next week. And I think sport's a real representation of life, and what we want to really sort of put into our students at UA92, that these sort of bumps along the way and these sort of highs and spikes are going to occur.
It sounds like you have created an environment and a community at UA92 that is a really safe place for students to take those big leaps and to make those big changes and to take those risks. And I think that's really remarkable in terms of a university and higher education experience for students to feel like they're part of a family and a community where it's totally okay for them to try new things, take those risks, and grow as a person, not just as a student. Gary and Sara, thank you so much for your time. This has been great. I think UA92 is such an exciting opportunity for students. THE student will be working with UA92 a little bit later in the year on a few opportunities to just tell students more about what's available. But I really thank you for your time and for being a part of the THE Student Festival.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you.